Hey everybody, JustusRStone here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am discussing volume number 6 of Reki Kawahara's light novel series, Sword Art Online. This is part 2 of the Phantom Bullet storyline. This book now, the first book has sort of the setup of the story and has Kirito qualifying for the Bullet of Bullets, and then in this book we finally have pretty much the whole book is devoted to the Bullet of Bullets tournament. Now there's a couple things that I really like about the Phantom Bullet storyline. First of all, I like the villain. I like the villain that he has sort of an actual motivation for doing the things he does. I enjoy the fact that the villain ties into sword art from sort of the very beginning. I enjoy the fact that the villain is sort of this boogeyman, ghost-like character. I also like Chignon. Chignon is my favorite character, I think, in probably all of Sword Art Online so far. The thing I really like about Chignon is that of all the characters in Sword Art, she actually has a story. She actually has a character progression. And we see that growth from Volume 4 and into and ending here, in Volume 5 and ending here in Volume 6. I enjoy the fact that she is not just another throwaway pretty girl to fall in love with Kirito. That said, there's just a couple things that go on in this story that prevent it from truly being great. Most of those have to do with conveniences or shortcuts. I'm not too sure how you want to label them, but one of them per se is this. In the Bullet of Bullets, there is a satellite that goes over every 15 minutes that reveals the location of players. Now, we find out very early on that if you, say, hide in a cave, the satellite won't pick you up, and that's fine. I mean, it seems a little weird that a GPS system can't pick you up just because you're like 20 feet into a cave, but whatever. The problem is that when they're in a city sort of part, they're like, oh yeah, if you go in the buildings, these satellites will pick you up. And I'm sitting there going, there's a hell of a lot more concrete between you and the satellite in a building than there is rock between you and a cave in the satellite, and yet the satellite can't find you for some reason. It's these weird little inconsistencies that throw the story off, and you really get the sense that the only reason they exist is because if you could hide in the buildings, it would make the story a lot more difficult to tell in terms of where characters are, what characters are doing, and so forth. There's a whole sort of section that would be very hard to pull off if the satellites worked in a way that was a lot more sensible. So this is the one issue that I have with the book, and there are little things throughout that it's that same thing. It's almost like we have a rule set up and it's established early, which is great because you're like, okay, fine, that's how it operates. But then that rule seems to not quite apply to a situation that you think would make sense, and the only reason it doesn't apply is because it would make something in the story more difficult, or it would make something in the story not quite work the way that I guess obviously the author intended. So it's that Deus Ex Machina problem that we get, and I mean, it happens in Sword Art Online. So that's one issue. The other issue, of course, is Kirito himself. God-kun. I mean, this guy is just too capable. He's just too good. And his character just doesn't quite seem to grow as much as he should. And even the whole setup of this story that Kirito somehow magically forgot some pretty massive event that you would think would ingrain itself on your brain forever, no matter how much you tried to escape it. The fact that the government is sending some teenage kid in to investigate a potential murderer seems a little off. The other thing that I have a slight issue with is that it's the timeline. Pretty much these two volumes, this whole story of Phantom Bullet takes place over about 2 days. Like the mass, like about 90% of it takes place over about 2 days. And you have this character of Chignon who I really like as a character, and she definitely has a character arc and a character growth, which is great because we don't see that a lot in Sword Art. But she opens up to Kirito in such a way that seems a little unbelievable given the timing. If there had been a way to extend it out a bit, that they had sort of spent a bit more time together, or she had found information out about Kirito in a certain way, it just seemed like it was just all of a sudden the flood doors opened and it's like, I trust you, I'm going to tell you everything, and we'll find out how much we have in common, and it'll make everything better. Again, it's that whole convenience, like, let's make the story work in a way that's convenient for the author. Those are my issues with Sword Art in general. However, those things aside, is the story enjoyable? Well, there's a lot of action in this volume. Like I said, pretty much the whole volume is this, winner take all, everybody gets killed, round robin sort of elimination type round. So there's lots of action, there's lots of gunplay. That sort of thing happens a lot through the book, so it makes the pace, it's a good page turner. It makes the pace really fast, keeps the book moving. So all in all, I mean, it's Sword Art Online. If you've liked volumes 1 through 4, or well, I guess 1 through 5 now, because this is 6. If you've liked volumes 1 through 5, there is probably nothing in this book that's going to make you hate Sword Art and not want to read any more of it. If Sword Art's Deus Ex Machina stuff really ticks you off and you can't handle it, then this one's just going to drive that point home even stronger for you. So those are my thoughts on Volume 6 of Sword Art Online, Part 2 of the Phantom Bullet storyline. That's the end of this one, so Volume 7 will be coming out, I think, in April, if I recall, and it will be a new storyline, which is going to be focusing on Asuna. If you've watched the anime, you probably know what storyline that is. So it'll be interesting to see how Asuna's treated when she's the focal character in sort of the main Sword Art storyline, and when Kirito is kind of pushed into the background. So I'm looking forward to that, to see if it's a bit of a tonal shift and to see if we can invest more into Asuna's character. Next Saturday, my review will be on this book, which is Kagero Days, volume number 3, by Jin. So I will be reviewing this one next Saturday. I hope you will join me for that. Click on subscribe link above my head or in the description so that you can catch this video as well as all my reviews of future Sword Art Online novels and a whack ton of other light novels. I've got playlists over to my left of my light novel reviews as well as my manga reviews that I am restarting. And I also write books, so if you want to check those out, I've got a link down there in the bottom corner. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. I hope to see you in my next one. Until then, bye-bye for now.